Hey, I'm Becca with Dorman Products, here to talk to you today about our coolant hose assemblies. As you'll likely know, in a traditional internal combustion engine, heat is a byproduct of the process. In fact, over half of the power produced is lost to needlessly heating things. Enter the cooling system, which primarily consists of a water pump moving heat in and out of a radiator by way of hoses. Now, at some point, someone got the bright idea to put a tiny radiator in the cabin, and voila! Interior heat was born. Add in a few other little pieces like coolant bypass hoses so coolant can circulate around the thermostat when it's closed, and the picture of a modern cooling system starts to take shape. When someone comes in with a cooling system issue, they may be looking for all manner of items and have a ton of problems. A bad radiator, blown head gasket, or burst hose can all cause coolant issues. If a motorist has an undiagnosed leak, they may complain of coolant loss, high temperatures usually caused by rising numbers on a gauge, or an idiot light, or perhaps a smell of maple syrup. The first and best step for diagnosing an external coolant leak is by way of a pressure tester. Your store may even offer a coolant system pressure tester as a loaner tool. Under pressure, the leak is often visible. Radiators and the associated hoses generally show their leaks easily. Leaking heater cores often leave vehicle interiors wet in the footwell of the vehicle. At Dorman, we concentrate on hard-to-find pieces of the system. Radiators, heater cores, and large diameter upper and lower radiator hoses aren't our game. You'll likely have other suppliers for those parts. You'll find us selling complicated hose assemblies, generally of a reasonably small diameter, built to carry coolant in smaller quantities in very tight corners. If you hear a customer asking for a bypass hose, coolant pipe, or coolant assembly, you'll want to examine our catalog. Years ago, it was commonplace to repair these pieces with a bulk hose, some fittings, connectors, and clamps. All those items still have their place, but due to the constrained spaces in modern engine bays, creating one's own solution isn't always a viable option. Our pre-bent, pre-formed assemblies save valuable installation time and mimic OEM offerings. When we create the parts, we often look at failure mode, and you'll see our signature upgrades baked right into our parts identified with our OE Fix value proposition. Given the difficult access many of these coolant hoses have, it's often easy to convince both professional mechanics and DIY customers of the greater value of these parts, even if the cost is slightly higher. For instance, we will often upgrade a hose with aluminum fittings, where an OEM may have used glass reinforced nylon or polymer. We also add insulation where appropriate, and we use superior OEM-style constant tension clamps in most of our assemblies. Constant tension clamps adjust to keep a firm grip on the hose even as the hose begins to relax and take a set. In other scenarios, we fix hoses caused by connections where leaks are a problem. Sometimes the mating interface leaves a lot to be desired, so we fix it, giving you something superior to sell your customer. Remember, because the heat and cooling systems are both linked and shared, a problem with the vehicle's HVAC system can render a car or truck inoperable. So we also sell some universal solutions, like a heater core bypass, for someone who needs to keep a vehicle rolling down the road temporarily until a more permanent repair can be made, and items to repair a hose rather than outright replacement. We also have a few items to fix leaking hose fittings too, rather than replacing an expensive complete assembly that's often available from just the dealer. When customers come in looking for coolant hose assemblies, it's always appropriate to recommend coolant. Ask them if they have a way to mix it. If not, 50-50 coolant usually offers better margins. Clamps are sometimes needed, and again, if your store loans tools, a cooling system pressure tester can be a great piece to offer. And our flush kits plumb easily into most 5/8 line, making future cleaning and fluid exchanges simple. And if someone is asking for a bulk heater hose by the foot of the plumb up their own repair solution, we have some tees and fittings that can be helpful for that too. In general, I expect you'll find Dorman's narrow yet deep focus on these oft-overlooked parts of the cooling system to be just what many cars need, and a nice addition to the selection of components you've already got in store. And remember, if you need any help before, during, or after the sale, our Dorman technical support team is always handy to help. Give them a jingle at 866-933-2911. Thanks for taking a little time to brush up on coolant hose assemblies. We hope it helps you and your customers. I'm Becca, and I'll see you soon.